August the 13th, 2026, and I hope everybody's been having a wonderful day so far today. I tried to come out here earlier and film today's video, but it was way too hot, and it looks like I might have waited too long because it's about 6:30, somewhere around there, and it's starting to rain. As soon as I came out here, it started raining on me, so it's like I can't win for losing, but I'm just going to have to make do with what I have for today. I hope that everybody is having a wonderful day so far today. With the rain falling the way that it is, I am going to keep today's video a little bit shorter than I usually do, but anyway, let's go ahead and dive into what I want to talk about in today's video, and what that is has to do with a podcast that I was listening to earlier today, and I don't know why, they were just kind of talking about partying and stuff like that, and all of a sudden I just started having like flashbacks to when I was in active addiction. And it really made me think about when I used to drink, and like how much I used to like go out and go to bars or go to parties or hang out at people's houses, every single night. When I lived in that neighborhood before we moved out here, we only lived here for like maybe 2 years before I got sick, so we didn't live here for very long. We lived here longer since I got sick than we did before that. But right before we had moved here, we lived in a neighborhood. So, every night when I got home from work, when I was a chef, my neighbors were outside. All my neighbors drank. They all used. We all partied together. And we lived there together for a very, very long time. I think I lived in that neighborhood for like 16 years or something like that. So I knew my neighbors very well, and most of us had lived there together for all of those years. I was one of the first people in that neighborhood, and then everybody started moving in after me, and we were hanging out every single night. At first, it started on the weekends, and then it, got to where we were hanging out every single night, and then on top of that, I was going out to bars. I worked in the restaurant industry. I'd go out after I got off work. I just felt like my whole entire life was basically lived at nighttime, which is what I was thinking about earlier today. It just brought back so many memories, and the memories that I have from back then are all from nighttime. And what that got me to thinking about was just about the boredom in sobriety, and how the boredom can be a big roadblock because we feel like we're just not having fun anymore. And that little voice in our back of our head, or the little person on our shoulder, keeps telling us, just go out and have a drink. You haven't had fun in forever. Everything else is boring. Just stop by the bar and have one beer just for today, or go by your friend's house and hang out tonight. You're just going to stop and have one beer or two beers. That's it. Or go swing by that bar. Whatever it is, that little person on our shoulders is telling us that without alcohol, or without our substance, but especially alcohol, that we're not going to be able to have fun anymore. We're going to be bored the rest of our life because we can't drink anymore, and that's just not the case. Now, is life going to be the same? Absolutely not. Your life is going to look a lot different. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, is just the boredom, how our life gets different, how our life looks different after we've become sober, because I really do think that can become a problem for a lot of us, because I know it was a big problem for me, especially in the beginning of my sobriety, because I didn't know anything else. I didn't know anything else but the personality that I was before I got sober. And I didn't know anything else but the person I'd been my whole entire life, because I drank or used my whole entire life, and then here I am with nothing. I was so used to drinking in any kind of social environment. Anytime I got around people, if I went to a party, just drinking was such a big part of my social life, and going out at nighttime, hanging out with my friends at nighttime, going out at nighttime, hanging out at bars at nighttime. And one of the things I was thinking about too was earlier when I sat down to try to film today's video the first time, I started thinking about how hot it was, and I was thinking about how when I was in active addiction that I never really got hot when I drank, because when I was really drinking, it was always at nighttime. So I was always drinking during the coolest part of the day. And I lived for the night back when I was in active addiction. I stayed up all night long. I really seriously lived for the nighttime. I wasn't a day person. I was a nighttime person. I worked during the day, But I partied, went out, drank with my friends. Everything that I did socially was at nighttime while I was drinking. And like I said, that's what I want to talk about today. That's what I wanted to talk about today because, when I was in active addiction, I thought that I had tons of friends. But, the funny thing about it is that after I got sick, none of those people came around. I didn't see any of those people hardly at all. I saw a couple, but I haven't seen them since. They saw me in the early beginnings of me being sick, but I haven't seen them in a very long time. I haven't seen a lot of my friends from back when I was in active addiction. And why that is, I don't know. Do they not want to hang out with the guy that I am now? Do I make them feel uncomfortable? Has it just been a long period of time since I've seen them and that's why we don't talk anymore? I really don't know. Do I reach out to these people? No, I don't. And there's a lot of reasons why. Number one, I don't want to be asked to go out anywhere. I don't want to get asked to go to a bar or come to somebody's house that I don't feel comfortable going to. It's like almost like that was a different life that I lived back then. I live a different life now. And like I said, is my life the same? Absolutely not. Do I get bored now? Of course I do. We all get bored. Was life more exciting when I was in active addiction? Of course it was. And that's one of the things I was thinking about, earlier when I was sitting out here is like how much different my life was back then. Somebody would give me a call. They'd call me at 10 o'clock at night and say, come out, let's go do something. I was gone. Regardless if my wife wanted out of me, regardless if my wife said no, it didn't matter. If somebody called and I said, why don't you come by? Regardless if my wife wanted them to come over or whatever, I just had people over. I hung out with people all the time. I was always out doing something all the time. And like I said, was my life different back then? Absolutely. Was it more exciting back then? Absolutely. But did I have the peace of mind that I have now since I've gotten sober? No, I did not have the peace of mind. Was I able to go to sleep at night and sleep peacefully? No, not at all. I'd wake up at, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, jump wide awake, start thinking about something that had happened the day before or the night before when I was blackout drunk, because I'd have a flashback in the middle of the night and all of a sudden remember something I'd said or done at the bar or something, and I couldn't believe I'd said or done that. And now I'm laying there the rest of the night and I can't go back to sleep. And the only thing that's going to help me at least get some sleep is to keep drinking in the middle of the night. So I'd get up, make myself a drink, go downstairs, lay on the couch, turn on the TV, and drink until I passed back out again, because I could not sleep thinking about the things that I had done when I was intoxicated. So no, I did not have peace of mind at all. I barely slept. I was always stressed out. I was always worried about something that I had done when I was intoxicated. I was always worried, the next day when I woke up, and I would start thinking about things that had happened the day before and wonder, are the police going to show up over here or something like that? Not saying that I was out committing, big crimes or anything like that, but I was drinking and driving, doing things like that. I just got paranoid. And that feeling when you wake up the next day after you got wasted drunk the night before, the anxiety that you have, of course you're going to feel paranoia. Of course you're going to feel anxious. You have like serious anxiety going on in the morning after you drank so much the night before. Especially if you stayed up all night long drinking, and then, next thing you know, you're laying your head down on the pillow and it's 7 a.m. and the birds are chirping and you're like, I cannot believe I did this to myself again. When you hear those birds chirp, you know what time it is when the birds start chirping. And the next thing you know, you see just that little bit of light right over on the horizon. You can see the sun starting to work its way up, and you're like, oh no, I stayed up all night long again. You can't believe that you did it again. And you got to go to work at 10 o'clock in the morning. You stayed up all night long drinking. I mean, that'll make you feel super anxious when you know that you've got to figure out a way to get to work, whether you drive or you get somebody to come pick you up, and you're drunk. You stayed up all night long getting wasted and doing other things as well. And now you've got to go to work and show your face and work a 12-hour shift or maybe even more. The anxiety that you feel from that, of course you're not going to have peace of mind. Like I said, I have peace of mind now. I don't worry about that kind of stuff anymore. I don't worry about what I did when I was drunk, because I don't get drunk anymore. Over all the time now. I know exactly what I do. I know exactly what I say to people. I never have to worry about what I did when I was blackout drunk, because I don't get blackout drunk anymore. And I think that's one of the biggest parts about sobriety. It's just the peace of mind. The peace of mind of knowing that you haven't done anything wrong, knowing that you didn't do anything, that you really are going to regret, knowing that you didn't do anything that might get you arrested, or maybe something that wasn't quite moral. And, there's all kinds of things that we do when we're intoxicated, guys. And it could be just using another substance. Maybe you take drug tests at work and, you were drunk, your inhibitions were lowered, your buddy had it, and you were standing right there beside him. Next thing you know, they offer it to you, and since you were wasted drunk, you weren't thinking properly, and the next thing you know, you took something, you took a pill or a puff or, a little snort of something or whatever it is, and next thing you know, now you've got to worry about going back to work and getting, pissed on a drug test and failing it. And losing potentially everything that you've worked so hard for because of one night being wasted drunk. That'll really give you a lot of anxiety. You're worried about it all the time. I remember so many times of I took something while I was wasted drunk, and then I was worried I was going to get drug tested at work or something. I was going to cut myself because, if I cut myself or fell into a fryer or something like that, that was workman's comp. And if I went to the hospital, I was going to get drug tested. And I was around a lot of sharp sharp knives, and there's just all kinds of stuff that can hurt you in the kitchen. It's just everywhere. You got hot grease, you got a hot stove, hot ovens, there's sharp things everywhere. You've got a slicer that can cut your finger off. There's just a bunch of stuff that can hurt you in the kitchen. I would get super paranoid after I'd use something, because I was like, if I go to the hospital after I get hurt, that's it, I'm losing my job. How am I going to take care of my family? Like I said, guys, I get it. I understand. In the very beginning of sobriety especially, you get super bored. You don't know what to do with your time anymore. You don't know what to do with yourself. You're completely lost, especially if you've been drinking like that for the past 20, 30 years. And then all of a sudden you get sober and you're like, well, what do I do now? How do I conduct myself? Who do I hang around with? I can't hang around with them because I'm going to drink, and they're going to want to go here and go there where I can't do it. Or there's all kinds of scenarios that you could put yourself in, and like I said, life can be rather boring in the beginning because we haven't quite figured out what to do with ourselves in our sobriety. I'm not going to sit here and read off a whole list of hobbies and things that you can do, things to fill your time with. Only you know what you enjoy doing, so look at what it is that you enjoy doing and maybe pour yourself into that. Maybe pour yourself into books. I don't know. Pour yourself into working out, walking, some kind of hobby, something to take that time up, something to wear you down. You've got to wear yourself out, especially in the beginning of your sobriety. And I get it. I understand. Life can be boring, especially if you were the life of the party and you went out and partied every single night for years upon years. And that's what your life used to be. That's what your life was like the bright lights and the nighttime and the parties and the dressing up, and everybody's having a good time until nobody's having a good time anymore. As we start to get older, all that stuff starts to wear off. All the friends that you used to hang around with, they're not going out anymore. Next thing you know, you find yourself hanging around with 20-year-olds and you're in your 40s. That's the truth of it, guys. I know it can be boring, especially in the beginning, but with time, we get used to it. With time, we get used to our new life. Is it going to be as wild and crazy and exciting and adrenaline-filled as your life was when you're in active addiction? Absolutely not. But there's a reason why. It's because you're not out doing crazy stuff anymore. You're not out there risking your life anymore. You're not out there behind the wheel of a car when you're intoxicated with the music blasting at 3 o'clock in the morning, like if a cop gets behind me, it's over. We don't live that way anymore. So, of course, our life gets a little bit more boring, but with time, we start to figure out how to live this way. And it's not so boring anymore. You get adjusted to this lifestyle. You get adjusted to going to bed at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. You get adjusted to working out and going walking and not doing crazy stuff and hanging out with all these crazy people and staying at the bar until 3 o'clock in the morning anymore and staying up till the sun comes up and waiting for the birds to start chirping. You're not doing those types of things anymore, of course. But with time and just giving it, just giving it time, guys, you become adjusted to this new life. And you start to like this new life. You like the fact that you wake up in the morning feeling good. You like the fact that you wake up first thing in the morning, make yourself a hot cup of coffee, and you actually really enjoy it. You like the fact that your stomach's not a wreck every single day. You like the fact that you wake up in the morning without a headache in the morning. You like the fact that you don't sit on the toilet for an hour. Your social life changes, yeah, but you're hanging around with people that aren't doing crazy stuff all the time. They're, you know, if you ask them to come help you move on a Saturday, they're probably going to come help. You know, the people that we hang out at the bar with, yeah, I'll be there Saturday morning. We're going to help you move. And then it's time to move, and they're not showing up to help. I mean, because they stayed up until 4 o'clock in the morning the night before, and there's always an excuse. Guys, I completely understand. And you feel like in the very beginning you just want to throw in the towel because you get so bored, your life becomes so different, and it's like it's a night and day difference. I mean, it literally is. Especially for me, because I stopped hanging out all night long. Now I'm hanging out during the day. Now I'm awake during the day. Now I don't spend my days off laying around sleeping all day long just trying to get a hangover to go away. Now I get up in the morning and cut my grass and spend 30 minutes reading a book and walk for 45 minutes and eat better and sleep better and drink more water and feel better and look better and just feel healthier. Guys, I got a million health problems right now, and I feel better health-wise than I did the whole entire time I drank. Let's stay sober today. I know it feels a little bit boring, especially in the beginning of your sobriety, but with time you will get used to it. With time you will begin to enjoy this new life of sobriety. You'll begin to enjoy that there's not craziness all the time and unexpected things popping up. I mean, things are going to be unexpected, of course, but just craziness all the time. I mean, that's the only thing I can say. It's just you don't have the craziness in your life anymore. Let's stay sober one more day, guys. This truly is one day at a time. And like I said, I completely understand that in the beginning of your sobriety that it can feel rather boring. But just give it some time. And I promise you, with that time, you'll begin to enjoy this new life that you're living right now. And with that said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and hop off of here for today. Thank you so much for watching. And until tomorrow, I will see you guys then. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your night. And until tomorrow, bye-bye.